A year and a half after Tarawa, the American forces found themselves at yet another island, now much closer to Japan. This one is called Okinawa. More than 12,000 Americans were killed in the battle there, one-third by kamikaze suicide planes. The Japanese pilots were barely beaten back when nature dealt the crushing blow of a giant windstorm. We call this story Typhoon at Okinawa.
By March 1945, the Japanese Empire is crumbling. Now the target is to be the very doorstep of Japan, Okinawa. The landings will be here, 325 miles from the home islands. But first, softening up from the air, then bombardment by the greatest naval armada in history. After 7 days of naval bombardment, Marine and Army troops head for the beach. This is D-Day, April 1st, Easter Sunday. There is no return fire from the shore. Where are the Japanese? Says one soldier, "I've already lived longer than I thought I would." 60,000 men are put ashore the first day. Cautiously, they push inland as far as 3 miles, poking about for the Japanese. But where are they? By mid-morning of D-Day, the Americans reach the first main objective, Yontan Airfield. Troops approach it carefully behind amphibian tanks. They meet with the first signs of enemy activity, sabotage squads and snipers, which are quickly overcome. In 1 day, the Americans advanced 3 times faster than expected. They do not know that the main Japanese force lies waiting to the south. Its mission, to hold off the invader until the American fleet has been destroyed from the air. The kamikaze, young suicide pilots, some mere teenagers, are ready to strike. They know they are off on their last mission. They represent the final expression of Bushido, the Japanese warrior code. The ceremonial drinking of sake symbolizes their devotion to their emperor. The kamikaze are the human counterpart of the divine wind, a typhoon which in the 13th century destroyed the Mongol fleet of Kublai Khan and saved Japan from invasion. Now in the 20th century, the name divine wind, kamikaze, has been given to these pilots. Each carries a 250-kilogram bomb wired fast to his plane. His job, to hurl plane, bomb, and self at the American invader. April 6th, D-Day +5. American warships lying 10 to 50 miles offshore have been alerted. Radar picks up the approaching enemy. There will be 355 suicide planes, the greatest kamikaze effort of the war. The word goes out quickly to all ships, and from the carriers, the American interceptors take off to meet them. Each kamikaze has one goal, to get an American ship. Most of them miss or are shot down, but the fanaticism of mass suicide pays off, and many ships are struck. All types of ships are vulnerable as the kamikaze keep up their attacks. April 12th, April 16th, through mid-May and into June. They will last for the whole 3 months of the Okinawa campaign. I doubt, writes naval historian Samuel Eliot Morrison, whether anyone could fully appreciate the desperate fury of the kamikaze corps unless he were present. By now, the situation on land is also becoming critical. The Americans have run up against the main Japanese line. The Japanese are securely entrenched in heavily fortified caves and bunkers, some 3 stories deep in the ground. Flamethrowers and TNT charges must be used to get them out. The few Japanese who are not killed are burned and stunned. To the Japanese, death is a victory of the spirit, capture a disgraceful rejection of the warrior's code. For the Americans, the battle continues. A group of Japanese is caught in the open. Tracers seek them out. Each foot of ground the Americans take is now won painfully and at a heavy price. In some units, the casualty rate is almost 100%. At sea, as the kamikaze onslaught continues, American planes, some crippled, some with fuel and ammunition exhausted, return to their carriers. Kamikaze, hurtling out of the gray sky like meteors, relentlessly press their attack. When they can, the Japanese go after the battleships and carriers, the carrier Enterprise. The battleship Missouri. But no capital ship will be sunk. The brunt of the attack is borne by picket ships, often stationed alone on duty far offshore. Some take as many as 5 and 6 suicide hits. Ships are turned into infernos. There is no time to rest or take cover. Gunners must remain at their posts under the relentless kamikaze attacks. Naval guns fire into the water. The water curtain diverts and obstructs oncoming planes. The divine wind does not destroy the American fleet, as the Japanese claim, but it has taken its toll. Among the 26 ships sunk and 164 damaged, the Bush, Calhoun, Rodman, Laffey, Bunker Hill, Cason Young, Drexler, Hancock, Brain, Newcomb, Enterprise, Logan Victory, many more. Now another divine wind is rushing toward the beleaguered fleet. Not a kamikaze this time, but a typhoon.
In June 1945, following 3 months of kamikaze attacks, one evening's tranquil sunset was followed by some ominous clouds. What had begun, according to the meteorologists, as a weak cyclonic circulation off the Palau Islands was now heading for Okinawa at typhoon intensity.
Aboard his flagship, the Missouri, Admiral Halsey and his staff plot the course of the typhoon. The fleet is first signaled to steam east. Then, when the storm is reported further off, Halsey, in an effort to outrace it, decides to head northwest. Halsey is trying to cross the typhoon's track before it strikes. A court of inquiry will later call his decision extremely ill-advised. He is heading straight into the path of the storm. height of the storm, 100-foot waves break off the bow of the cruiser Pittsburgh. Only a thin steel bulkhead keeps the ship afloat. At the Typhoon's end, 4 carriers, 3 cruisers, and 26 lighter ships have been damaged, 142 planes destroyed. Our only consolation, says Halsey, was that no ships were sunk and only 6 men were lost. On land, the torrential rains have made Okinawa an island of mud. During the bad weather, the Japanese have secretly retired from their main defense lines to new and final positions further south. Their resistance is weakening, but they will fight on for another 3 weeks. Mud is their ally against weary GIs. As the weather clears, the Americans push forward in a final effort. 30,000 Japanese are prepared to make their last stand on the southern tip of Okinawa. Their artillery is gone, but they still have machine guns, mortars, and suicidal determination. They must be dug out man by man. American loudspeakers call upon the enemy to surrender. By June 30th, after 3 months of fighting, the Japanese are finished. Along with the shattered remnants of the Japanese army, 80,000 Okinawan civilians, mostly women and children, fearfully crawl out of hiding. Some have lived underground in caves and wells for as long as 2 months. The Japanese have warned the Okinawans that they would be tortured and killed by the Americans. Instead, they are given medical attention. Almost 11,000 prisoners are taken. More than 100,000 enemy troops have been killed. Those who are captured are a ragged, beaten lot, the wreckage of the war's last battle. No other battle cost both sides so much in so short a time as did Okinawa. The Americans are battle-weary too, but they have won a tremendous victory. They have withstood the divine winds of Japan, the kamikaze, and the typhoon. American courage and endurance are symbolized in the aircraft carrier Franklin, bombed on March 19, 1945, off the coast of Japan during the pre-invasion phase of the Okinawa campaign. With 724 crewmen dead, Big Ben, the most heavily damaged ship of the war, limps home, all the way home to New York. The battle for Okinawa, says Winston Churchill, was one of the most intense in military history. The gallant fleet which fought it will forever be known as the fleet that came to stay.
By the summer of 1945, Americans had fought their way across the bloody sands of scores of Pacific islands and were now poised to attack the Japanese mainland. Even though the price of island warfare was high, a direct assault on Japan's home island seemed inevitable. But the course of the war and the course of history was changed by some secret tests in the desert at Alamogordo, New Mexico, and some top-secret training by a few American airmen.
To this field, the most secret American military base of World War II, come carefully screened volunteers transferred from every command in the Army Air Forces. No one knows exactly why he's here, except that he will serve with the B-29 super fortresses of the 21st Bombing Command of the 20th Air Force. Beyond that, all they are told is, your job will be overseas and it will be different. If you have to know more, ask too many questions, speculate too much, or even talk in your sleep, you'd better get out now. Formed into the completely self-contained 509th Composite Group, the new men buckle down to secret training, perfecting skills in which they already are the most proficient in the Air Force. Security is tightened. Good men are washed out and replaced by better men. Factory-perfect B-29s are remodeled, stripped of almost all defensive armament, made faster, more maneuverable. Designed to carry 10 tons of bombs, they are sent out on endless practice missions carrying only a single bomb, never the same size or weight. Every bomb run is made at better than 30,000 feet. Every drop with a visual bomb sight. After Pearl Harbor, for the first time, American land-based bombers will be within non-stop striking range of the Japanese home islands. Only 1,500 miles from Tokyo, the islands of the Marianas Group are anchored in the Pacific like a flotilla of coral aircraft carriers. Guam, Tinian, Saipan, bloodily won by Army Marine Corps amphibious assault, have been bulldozed into the world's largest airfields for the world's largest aircraft, and by men who, until now, have never even seen a B-29. From Wendover Field, Utah, the first elements of the 21st Bomber Command of the 20th Air Force arrive at Isley Field in the Marianas. They are the vanguard of the first global striking force in history, but they bring with them no illusions of swift and easy victory.
Well, the first element of the 21st Bomber Command has arrived. When we've done some more fighting, we'll do some more talking. Thank you.
But 15 planes are missing. The mysterious 509th Group is still back at Wendover Field. Leftover Field, Bob Hope called it. They're still training for an unknown assignment which may never come, because at Alamogordo, New Mexico, they will soon test a bomb which may never go off. But no one here has ever heard of uranium-235. High explosive, they do know, and jellied gasoline magnesium. And these bombs they stockpile for a war they grimly expect will go on for at least 2 more years. Finally, 7 months after the rest of the command is operational, the missing 509th Composite Group arrives at North Field on Tinian. There will be no explanation of why they are late, no indication of what they are doing. Only a handful of men, along with Colonel Paul Tibbets, Jr., their commanding officer, even knows what they might do. Assigned to the most remote area of the base, they will be completely isolated, surrounded by a security curtain, barbed wire, and a detachment of their own special MPs, which they brought with them from the States. Only a few men know that the 509th is even on Tinian. Only a few men and one woman, Tokyo Rose.
Greetings, everybody.
This is your #1 enemy, your favorite
playmate, Orphan Anne of Radio Tokyo, the little sunbeam whose throat you'd like to cut. This program tonight is especially dedicated to the boys of the 509th Group, which just landed on Tinian. Oh, sorry, that's supposed to be a secret. By the way, fellas, what kept you so long? Now, why don't you all just relax and listen? All set? Okay, here's the first blow at your morale.
The 509th is not allowed to fly regular combat missions. If Tokyo Rose is right and the other groups are doing their fighting for them, it is at least on an unprecedented scale. Maximum effort raids, 100, 200, finally more than 800 B-29s to a strike, dropping thousands of tons of explosive and fire bombs on railheads, port facilities, military installations, and industrial cities. Tokyo, Nagoya, Sasebo, Oita, Omura, Osaka, Kobe. Almost all that is above ground in 65 cities is crippled or destroyed. Nothing is left intact but Japan's fanatical determination to fight on from the last ditch behind her own rubble. Apparently aloof from the rest of World War II, the solitary 509th, still unaware of its own purpose, carries on its puzzling training schedule. Their orders, practice runs to nearby islands. Then their own private missions to Japan, always above 30,000 feet, always alone or in threes, always to drop just one bomb. And each time they must return to Tinian to face the ridicule of their fellow flyers. A poem is written in their dubious honor. Into the air their secret rose, where they are going nobody knows. Tomorrow perhaps they'll return again, and we'll never know where they've been. But take it from one who knows the score, the 509th is winning the war. But these missions are not so futile as they appear. Navigation is improved over the actual approach courses until they can take them out on a 10-cent compass and bring them back on a broken slide rule. Each of the group's 15 planes is being constantly flight tested from bomb bay to rudder bolt. Carburetors have been replaced by fuel injectors, and engines are fine-tuned to get 4 miles out of the fuel for 3. Meteorological runs acquaint them with the high-altitude winds over the Japanese coast, the strongest and most conflicting in the world. Headwinds that can hold a B-29 motionless in the air, and cross currents so complex the bombardier might have to make 5 extra corrections for each drop. But most important, these sorties condition the Japanese to the regular appearance of small flights which drop only 1 bomb and do comparatively little damage. August 5th, 1945. A word from Alamogordo. Test successful. Japan has refused a final surrender ultimatum, has pledged her 5 million-man army, still intact, to glorious suicidal resistance. If the bomb is not used, military experts have told President Truman 1 million American casualties may result from an invasion of the Japanese main islands. The decision is made. The bomb will be dropped tomorrow. For some, crews of the bombers coming and going on the big Tokyo raids, tomorrow even will be too late. Aborted takeoffs and landings take their normal operational toll of B-29s. When 4 B-29s in a row crash and burn the day before the atom strike, one man is more concerned than most. Navy Captain William S. Parsons, Technical Control Officer, asks permission of the officer second in command of the Manhattan District, General Thomas Farrell, to arm the bomb in flight. A crack-up on takeoff tomorrow, he fears, might disintegrate the entire island of Tinian. He has never assembled an A-bomb before. He has 4 hours in which to learn how. The bomb has been delivered to Tinian in 4 sections, 3 by plane, 1 by the cruiser Indianapolis, sunk 4 days after she delivered her cargo. Colonel Tibbets will fly the strike plane, B-29 number 82. Its regular commander, Captain Robert Lewis, will fly as his co-pilot. These are actual pictures made during the bombing up. This is the first time they have been released. Colonel Tibbets' plane, with the bomb partially assembled and racked up, is tenderly taxied down to the remotest end of the runway. That same day, August 5th, the crews of 6 planes have been summoned to the assembly hall for briefing. Now, for the first time, they will be told why the 509th Composite Group has come to Tinian. They will hear from Colonel Tibbets why they had to practice those violent, wing-ripping 150-degree getaways each time they released a bomb.
Gentlemen, when we met at Wendover for the first time about 10 months ago, I told you at that time that I had great hopes that the mission that we were about to undertake could end the war. At the same time, I offered to release any man who felt that he could not work under the conditions of mystery and possible danger that might prevail. That offer still goes because tomorrow we're going to execute that mission. If there are any doubts existing in anyone's mind, he can leave now before any more is said. A bomb similar to the one that we're going to use was exploded in the desert in New Mexico. We have here with us tonight men who witnessed that explosion. They have photographs with them. They will endeavor to answer any questions that you may want to ask. Now, during your training period, you were called upon to do many strange things. There was a reason for all of that, because this bomb that you're going to use is not an ordinary bomb. It's not a 1,000-pounder. It's not a 10-ton blockbuster. This bomb has the strength of 20,000 tons of TNT.
Enola Gay, freshly painted on the plane, is the name of Colonel Tibbetts' mother. His will be the strike plane. The great artiste and B-29 number 91 will carry observation personnel. 3 other planes will go out first and report the weather over the targets. Depending on visibility, they will strike either Hiroshima, Kokura, or Nagasaki. These are each military targets previously undamaged, so before and after results can be assessed. Captain Parsons, the only one aboard who will know the secret of the bomb assembly, has borrowed an automatic pistol. If they are shot down, he has no intention of being captured. The time is 2:40 a.m., New Year's morning of the year 1 of the nuclear age. The mission starts tensely. More than half of Enola Gay's takeoff weight is gasoline, and she needs every last foot of runway. As soon as they are airborne, work must start on final assembly of the bomb. Back at Tinian, when he practiced this, the bomb was still inert. Now Captain Parsons must arm it, set the trigger. The margin for error, 0. New York Times reporter William L. Lawrence has asked co-pilot Captain Robert Lewis to keep a flight log. It is in the form of a letter to his parents in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Dear Mom and Dad, Lewis writes, 4:20. The colonel, better known as Old Bull, shows signs of a tough day with all he had to do to get this mission off. He is deserving of a few winks, so I'll have a bite to eat and look after George, the automatic pilot. 5:55 over Iwo Jima, halfway to Japan. The Enola Gay rendezvous with the great artiste and number 91. They start to climb and set a course to the northwest. The gunners clear their guns. Captain Parsons is still sweating out the bomb assembly. Only now he doesn't have much time. 7:10, Captain Lewis writes in his letter home, the undercast has begun to break up and the day is very beautiful. We are now about 2 hours from bombs away. 7:30, the Lewis letter. Captain Parsons is putting the final touches on his assembly job. We are now loaded. The bomb is now alive. It is a funny feeling knowing it is right in back of you. Knock wood. Lewis writes, "We have set the automatic pilot for the last time until bombs away." "8:30, Lewis. We have reached proper altitude and have just received a radio report from the weather plane that left an hour ahead of us that our primary is our best target. So, with everything going well so far, we will make a bomb run on Hiroshima right now." "8:35, the other two planes in the flight peel off and leave the Enola Gay. What she must do alone." Welders' goggles have been provided to shield the men's eyes from the bomb glare. Some of them remember to put them on. It is 9/11. At 9:16 a.m., August 6, 1945, Captain Bob Lewis writes the last entry in his letter home. Just 2 words: "My God."
Hiroshima, Okinawa, Tarawa, Burma, places etched into the annals of the Second World War. There were, of course, many others: Stalingrad, Warsaw, Berlin, places which we'll be highlighting in this continuing series, the CBS Video Library of World War II. I'm Walter Cronkite.